Welcome, traveler. Step through the wooden doors and into the heart of a medieval inn. A place of warmth and bustle and quiet routine. Here, under a thatched roof and timber beams, life begins before the sun even dares to rise. If you enjoyed stepping inside the medieval world, don't forget to support the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss new videos. Would you eat the infamous in stew? Leave a comment and let us know what type of video you want to see. When the last guest drifts into slumber around midnight, the inn falls into a rare hush. This is the quiet period, from 12 until 3 in the morning, but the building is never truly still. A night watchman patrols the halls and the yard, lantern in hand, making sure all is safe. His ears are sharp for the sound of thieves, or worse, fire. The inn's faithful cat also keeps watch, padding softly across the wooden floors. Her duty is to keep the flour safe from hungry rats and mice. In the cellar, the innkeeper's terrier joins the hunt too. Every month or so, the dog is taken down to clear the storerooms of vermin quick, efficient, and essential to protect precious food. At 3 in the morning, while most guests still dream, the kitchen sparks to life. A fire is coaxed back to flame from its glowing embers. The smell of wood smoke fills the air as bread dough is kneaded and shaped. The kitchen staff, often the older, steadier hands of the inn, begin preparing food for the day. Meat is salted or set to stew. Ale is checked, pitchers filled. It is hard, quiet work, done in the dark hours before dawn. At 6 o'clock, the household stirs. Guests wake with the crowing rooster, stretching after a night on straw-stuffed mattresses. They wander down to the common room where fresh bread awaits them, warm from the oven. Inside the inn, there are 2 very different mornings. If you are wealthy, perhaps a merchant, a noble, or a pilgrim of means, your day starts in the privacy of your own room. A servant brings you a jug of water, a small basin, and a towel. You wash your face, freshen your hands, and ready yourself for the road ahead. But most guests do not have this luxury. They sleep together in common rooms, laid out under heavy wool blankets, bodies packed shoulder to shoulder. But most guests do not have this luxury. They sleep together in common rooms, laid out under heavy wool blankets, bodies packed shoulder to shoulder. In the morning, a shared bowl of water is placed in the center of the room. Each person takes a turn, splashing their face or wetting their hair. Many don't bother at all. Sleepy stiff and sometimes hungover, they rise slowly. Their morning ritual, little more than shaking off the night's chill. The bathrooms, such as they are, have not been touched all night. And so, they wait until morning to be cleaned. There is no single neat chamber, no flush of water. Solids are piled in one place, liquids in another. The smell is sharp and unpleasant, and it lingers across the yard. Cleaning it is one of the least enviable tasks in the inn, done once most guests have risen and moved on, so the mess is less noticed. It is not glamorous work, but it is necessary. The busiest place of all is not the dining hall, it's the stable. The youngest workers, often children just learning the trade, are already at work since 5. They sweep out dung, shovel fresh straw, and feed the horses. Horses are given hay to fill their bellies, oats and barley to strengthen them. And sometimes horse bread, a dense loaf made with peas. The animals stamp their hooves, whicker softly, and the children learn their duties by doing the jobs no one else wants. In time, they'll rise in rank, but for now, their mornings are full of honest, dirty work. By now, the kitchen has coaxed the hearth to life, and the smell of bread begins to drift through the hall. Guests gather in the common room, where a simple breakfast is served. Most mornings there is porridge thick and steaming, sometimes flavored with cinnamon. Cinnamon is expensive, a luxury spice, and its presence makes the meal feel like a small indulgence. Alongside it comes hot bread, pulled fresh from the oven, crisp on the outside, soft within. To drink there is water, drawn from the inn's well, and ale left over from the night before. A few wrinkled apples may be passed around, their skins leathery, but their taste still sweet. Cheese, too, makes an appearance, stungy, hearty, a welcome bite to start the day. The common room fills with warmth, the smell of food, the sound of spoons scraping bowls, and the low murmur of travelers sharing news, laughter, or silence. Many are bleary-eyed, still heavy from the ale of the previous night, yet in this moment they find comfort in the company of strangers. As the meal ends, the inn courtyard comes fully alive. The courtyard is a place of shadow. Tall timber walls cast it into cool shade, and the air is often damp, carrying the smell of earth, horses, and travel. It is not a quiet place, but a lively one full of motion and sound. Here guests gather their belongings, tightening cloaks, readying boots. Others linger, sipping the last of their drink, trading stories before the road calls them onward. Meanwhile, the staff clears the tables, tends to the stables, and sweeps the floors. The rooms are readied once more for the next wave of weary travelers who will arrive by evening. A merchant rolls his pack tighter, a pilgrim ties her bundle to her belt, and children dart between legs, carrying small errands for the innkeeper. There is laughter, and there are goodbyes. Friends clasp hands, fellow travelers share a word of blessing, and strangers who met only last night part ways, perhaps never to see each other again. In one corner, the stables come alive. Horses are led out into the cold morning air, their breath misting as they stamp their hooves. Some are heavy pack animals, burdened with chests and sacks. Others are sleek and proud, belonging to the wealthy fine coats brushed, hooves polished, saddles gleaming. Travelers take pride in showing off their mounts. To have a strong horse is to display not only wealth, but also security and freedom. There is boasting, there is admiration, and there is always the quiet envy of those who must walk. Travel in the medieval world was rarely a solitary thing. After breakfast, people gather in small groups to set off together. They walk, ride, or roll their wagons out from the courtyard, bound for the next inn along the road. The pace is shared. The quick must slow. The slow must push on. Together, they keep watch for danger and share the long miles with conversation. At the courtyard's edge, the innkeeper stands. This is his domain, and part of his duty is the farewell. Two important guest nobles, wealthy merchants, officials, he offers warm words, sometimes even stepping forward to clasp a hand or bow. He thanks them for their company, and always invites them back. To others, his farewell is simpler a nod, a wave, a smile. Yet each guest is acknowledged, for each has brought coin and life and story into the walls of his inn. As the travelers leave, the courtyard empties. The noise of bustle fades into the morning roads. Only the inn's cat lingers in the shadows, watching the last horse vanish. Soon the courtyard will fall into silence, holding only the echo of footsteps and farewells. But it will not be silent for long. By evening, it will fill again with new faces, new laughter, new stories, and new journeys waiting to begin. It is mid-morning now. Breakfast has been eaten, the travelers have gone, and the courtyard lies still. The bustle of dawn has faded, and the medieval inn enters a quieter hour. Inside, only the innkeeper, the staff, and a few guests remained, those who are unwell, still resting in their beds, gathering strength before they too take to the road. For the workers of the inn, this is not a time of rest. It is the time of cleaning. The stables are tended first. The floor, scattered with dung from the night before, is shoveled clean. Nothing is wasted here. The dung is gathered, sometimes to be sold, sometimes to be used as fertilizer on nearby fields. Even waste finds its purpose in the rhythm of medieval life. Fresh straw is spread, and the horses nuzzle into it, snorting with approval. Next, the washrooms. They are cleaned only once guests have gone. Solids are scraped away, liquids emptied. It is unpleasant work, but necessary, and the smell lingers long after the buckets are taken out. Back inside, the staff check the common rooms. They sweep through to see who still lingers. The lost and found is gathered carefully. A cloak forgotten on a bench, a coin purse left beneath a stool, a dagger misplaced in the shadows. All of it is locked away in a sturdy box, waiting for the owner who may or may not return. The unlucky drunkards who have overstayed their welcome are woken with a splash of cold water, and then ushered firmly out the door. The long wooden tables bear the scars of many meals. Broken mugs are tied together, set aside until they can be repaired or thrown out. The greasy surfaces are scrubbed hard, though the most stubborn patches of grease never truly fade. Over time, the wood itself grows dark and slick, a permanent mark of countless meals and countless guests. On the floor, fresh rushes are scattered. These are changed, weekly collected once again for use elsewhere. Nothing in the medieval world is wasted. Sometimes herbs are mixed with the rushes. As feet step upon them, the leaves crush and release a gentle fragrance into the air. Rosemary, lavender, mint, simple luxuries meant to please noble guests, and more common in inns of wealth and reputation. But not all dust is cleared away. Often it is swept quietly under the furniture, out of sight, but never truly gone. A small trick of innkeeping. While the staff clean, the innkeeper turns to his books. Coins are counted carefully, each one recorded in neat marks upon parchment. The money is locked away in a strong box, its iron straps solid, its key kept always by the innkeeper himself. For him, this is the heart of the business. The inn runs on bread, ale, and bed's butt. Beneath it all, it runs on coin. By the time the work is finished, the inn is quiet again. The tables are set in order, the stables clean, the smell of herbs faint in the air. The drunkards are gone, the rooms are tidied, and the floors are fresh with new rushes. In this mid-morning lull, the inn rests just for a little while. It waits for the next travelers who will arrive at dusk, weary and hungry, ready to bring new life and noise into its wooden halls. As the sun climbs higher, the inn becomes a hive of life, a place not just of food and drink, but of connection. Merchants, pilgrims, and weary travelers pass through its doors. Food is served, ale is poured, and fires are stoked high to keep the chill away. Merchants lean in close over whispered deals. Farmers laugh as they share bowls of stew, and travelers trade stories of the road. The air is warm, heavy with the smell of bread, herbs, and wood smoke. The inn was not always owned by a humble innkeeper. Sometimes it was part of a noble estate, its profits supporting the lord or lady of the region. But whoever held the keys, the inn was more than a place to eat and drink. At midday, it became the beating heart of the town. Local merchants and important townsfolk gathered here, their voices filling the common room. Deals were struck over cups of wine, bolts of cloth were bartered, and the latest news was passed from ear to ear. The inn was a rumor mill, a place where truth and gossip mingled freely. For the keen listener, it was a treasure chest of information. But it took a sharp mind to tell one from the other. For staff, it is a long day of serving, cleaning, tending to animals, and preparing meals. Yet there is comfort here too. The hum of voices, the smell of bread, the warmth of the hearth. The staff worked swiftly to ready the inn for the midday crowd. Fresh bowls of water and towels were set out for washing hands before the meal. The linens on the tables were not changed, all dusted off from the morning's use. In the stable, fresh hay was laid down for new horses arriving with their riders. Junior staff hurried to clean and polish, making sure the inn shone just enough to please both humble and noble guests. The meal itself was simple for most. Porridge, thick and filling, or a thick vegetable stew, simmered slowly in the great cauldron. Carrots, turnips, onions, herbs, and cabbage brought in baskets by local farmers were boiled together until soft. A chunk of stale bread was stirred in too thick in the broth, making it hearty and heavy. This was the mysterious stew, a dish that shifted with the seasons, changing flavor as the year turned. Alongside it came hard bread, teeth-testing but dependable, or bread pudding made from loaves too stale to serve otherwise. Nothing was wasted. The only scraps not fit for humans found their way to the pigs. For wealthier guests, or those marking a special occasion, the meal might include roast meats, rare, savory, and filling. But for most, the diet was largely plant-based, simple, and sustaining. Meat was a rare delicacy, bony pieces served in special occasions, or if a generous nobleman donated beef. The food was same, the fire was same, cooked in the same cauldron, and served under the same inn roof, but divided by class. The wealthy guests ate from sturdy clay bowls, which were plain but smooth and dependable, giving them a sense of elegance and respect. Their portions were bigger, set before them with extra bread and ale. The poorer guests, however, often ate directly from the greasy cauldron. Burning hands when dipping their mug into the simmering stew to collect remains, pride lost to hunger after a long and unsure journey. They wasted nothing and finished all leftovers and scrapes. To drink, there was ale, often brewed by the innkeeper's wife herself. Its taste varied with each batch, but it was the lifeblood of the inn, served from morning until night. For those who preferred something lighter, there were herbal tisans, infusions of mint, rosemary, or other herbs steeped in water. In the pantry, precious stores were kept: salt to preserve, fat for cooking, garlic for flavor, honey for sweetness. Meat, vegetables, and herbs filled the shelves in measured quantities, each item carefully rationed to last until the next delivery. And at the center of the kitchen stood the great cauldron, a pot that never truly emptied. This was the 24-hour broth, ingredients added day after day, a living soup, flavored by countless meals before it. Every spoonful was a taste of the inn's long memory. When the meal ended, the work of cleaning began. For the staff, it was not about shining perfection, but rather making the bowls ready for the next wave of guests. Bowls were wiped down, sometimes with a scrap of bread, sometimes with a cloth. If water was at hand, they were rinsed cold and often murky. Soap was rare, used only if it could be found or afforded. The midday crowd has gone. In the calm after lunch, the innkeeper and his staff turn their thoughts to nightfall. Floors are swept again, benches are straightened, and the hearth is stoked with fresh, dry wood delivered by local woodmen who know the inn's appetite for fire. Every log has its purpose. Without the warmth and light of a strong fire, the evening could not unfold. As the sun sinks, the inn bursts back into life. This is the hour of arrivals, when travelers gather after long miles on the road. Some arrive weary from wagons, clothes brushed and neat, faces tired but clean. Others stumble in on foot, boots heavy with mud, cloaks streaked from rain and dust. All are drawn to the same glow of fire, the food, and the promise of company. The common room grows crowded, filled with the smells of stew, fresh bread, and wood smoke. Evenings at the inn are never still. A game of dice begins in one corner, gamblers leaning in close, their eyes sharp. A chessboard may appear on another table, pieces moving with quiet concentration. Sometimes a troubadour arrives, wandering musicians who trade song for supper, a warm place by the fire, and a few coins from generous guests. Their voices carry tales of distant lands and ancient battles, songs of love and loss, satire of lords and kings. In their music, travelers hear both laughter and lament, news and epic, all woven together. The great hearth burns bright, tended carefully by the staff. Guests gather around it, warming hands, drying cloaks, and letting the glow chase away the night's chill. On the tables, bowls of stew and hard bread are passed, mugs of ale are lifted high. The smell of herbs, roasted meat, and wood smoke fills the air. This is the inn at its fullest swarm, crowded and alive. Yet beneath the cheer lies a sharper edge. Dice games, though full of laughter, are rarely fair. Cheating is common, and tempers flare quickly when coin is at stake. Many a quarrel begins with a roll of dice and ends in a brawl. Some say more men met their end in tavern fights than in battles upon the field. The inn staff watch carefully, ready to step in when voices grow too loud. As the hours pass, the noise dwindles. Some guests drift away early, but most remain until near midnight. At last, the common room becomes a place of rest. Regular customers stretch out on benches, pulling woolen blankets close against the night's chill. For them, sleep comes in shared spaces, with the murmur of snores all around. The wealthy retire to private chambers where softer beds await behind bolted doors. At midnight, when fire burns low, when laughter dies down, and footsteps grow fewer, the inn closes its doors once more. Guests retire to their rooms. The night watch takes his lantern. The cat curls in the corner. And the cycle begins again. A medieval inn was never quiet. Its walls held more than weary travelers. They held the restless chorus of a small world gathered together. Guests coughed from sickness carried on the road. Some, weakened by their journeys, would even take their last breaths here. Around them, the living carried on drinking, laughing, and shouting above the noise. Outside, pigs rooted in the yard. Chickens fluttered across the courtyard. Goats bleated. Horses stamped their hooves, their harnesses jangling. All of it blended into the nightly chorus, boozy, chaotic, but warm with life. And always in the common room, the rowdy songs of drunks rang out. slurred with laughter and ale. Amid all this noise, the innkeeper's own quarters were simple. A straw mattress on a low frame, a wooden chest for possessions, perhaps a jug of ale by the bedside. It was not comfort that defined him, but responsibility. The innkeeper's eyes and ears were everywhere, watching over the guests, the food, the money, and the peace of his inn. The backbone of the inn was its staff. The innkeeper was brain, calculating money, making connections to important guests, and making plans to manage and improve the inn. The cook was the heart, making sure all inn guests' bellies were full. With the cook were her young apprentices, cleaning off dirt from vegetable, feeding chickens and goats. The barmaid was the soul of the inn. She knew the regulars and new faces, remembered who paid last time and who sneaked off before paying their portion. And when the time came, she was the one to act, calling the guard, or the innkeeper, to not so politely see them out. She was efficient, darting between tables, balancing mugs of ale and bowls of suspicions-looking stew. She knew when to laugh to ease tension at the table with cheating dice rollers and use sharp words to slice a drunk flirt. A medieval inn was not a place of peace. It was crowded, messy, alive with lice, noise, and quarrels. Yet within its walls was something greater, the warmth of humanity. Travelers of every walk of life gathered here. A dusty pilgrim clutching a token of faith. A silent and watchful monk muttering prayers under his breath. A merchant and his apprentice looking for potential customers. A desperate bard traveling with a lute, convincing the reluctant innkeeper to trade supper for songs. A haughty nobleman hurrying to his fancy private room. A handsome knight in shiny armor keeping the door open for the barmaid. And among them scammers with charming smiles and quick hands, children running around, tax collectors looking for a certain merchant and his apprentice, and even strangers breaking bread together, stories traded over mugs of ale, music lifting hearts in the firelight. In a world of long, lonely roads, the inn was a beacon. Chaotic, yes. Loud, dirty, and unruly, always. But it was here that life itself gathered, messy, imperfect, and alive. Inns were gathering places where news traveled faster than horses on the road. Here rumors sparked like embers, fanned by eager tongues. Deals were struck over ale, whispers of rebellion carried in the corner, and speeches in support of kings or against them found willing ears. An inn was an information hub for a royal court. Inns were frequented by the king's messengers memorizing faces and keeping a sharp ear for whispers of news. A keen listener could learn of enemy troops moving, taxes rising, or whispers of plots against the crown. And all of it hidden beneath the noise of laughter, the rattle of dice, and the songs of wandering bards. For those who wished to inspire, persuade, or sow doubt, the inn was the perfect place. Yet for many, the inn was simply a lifeline. Roads were long and dangerous, stretching across forests and fields with little shelter in between. To come upon an inn after miles of travel was to find warmth, food, and human company. The hearth burned always at the center of the room, a fire that promised safety in a world of uncertainty. It was here that the traveler could rest, listen to stories, and feel, for a brief time, at home. Each ember carried the laughter of merchants, the prayers of pilgrims, the boasting of knights, and the secrets of those who wished to remain unseen. There was another side to the inquieter, more secretive. For some, the inn was not only a refuge, but an escape. Those who wished to disappear could do so among its crowds. A man leaving behind debts, a woman seeking a new life, a runaway, a thief, even a spy within the noise and bustle, they could become someone else entirely. The design of the medieval inn reflected its many roles. The first floor of an inn was a big room with few partition. At the center of the common space was the great hearth, around which all life revolved: heat for cooking, light for the dark, comfort for the weary. Surrounding the hearth were many scratched and greasy benches and rough tables where food was served, dice were played, and songs were sung. The little privacy in inns came from simple wooden partitions. Beyond them, a small kitchen and tavern merged into one, the cauldron simmering day and night, the smell of mystery stew mixing with the smoke of the hearth. Not every part of the inn was bright. In the darkened corners, shadows lingered, perfect for secret conversations and quiet deals. A whisper here, a promise there, all hidden from the fire's glow. In the Middle Ages, an inn was more than a place to rest. It was a reflection of the town around it. Its price, its reputation, even its cleanliness, all told a story of wealth and comfort, or of struggle and risk for others. In many medieval towns, local officials tried to regulate the inns, but enforcement was rarely consistent. Officials set rules for hygiene for rooms and food, and rates on how much an innkeeper could charge. Regulation came in the form of a nobleman's complaint, but the word of a weary pilgrim was brushed off. And so each inn developed a reputation of its own, shaped as much by rumor and experience as by the law. For those with coin to spare, there were inns of comfort and refinement. Here, the rushes on the floor were fresh and fragrant, scattered with herbs that released a pleasant scent when walked upon. The tables, though worn, were polished and kept as clean as could be managed. The hearth burned bright, with good dried wood stacked neatly nearby. The air carried not just the smell of smoke and food, but the fragrance of comfort. Rooms were private, or at least divided by sturdy partitions. For travelers who could afford such places, the price was high. But the peace of mind that their purses would not be cut in the night was worth every coin. Then there were the other inns, shabbier places, where the floor rushes were old, the air thick with the smell of ale and unwashed clothes. These inns were crowded, noisy, and alive with common folk. Here the price was far less, but so was the security. Theft was common. A purse might vanish as quickly as it was set down. Not every guest would wake to find their belongings where they had left them. Still, for the poor traveler, these inns were a necessity. A roof, a fire, and a shared bowl of stewven, if the comfort was thin and the dangers close. And so, the reputation of an inn mattered greatly. An inn's name could mean bags on coin or drive travelers away. In a world where inns were lifelines between long stretches of road, a traveler remembered where they had slept safely and where they had not. Word spread quickly. Merchants spoke of the clean inns where they could conduct business without fear. Pilgrims warned each other of the rowdy houses where drunks fought through the night. In the end, the medieval inn was shaped by balance between wealth and poverty, law and neglect, cleanliness and chaos. For some, there was the posh inn, where comfort came at a price. For others, the shabby inn, alive with noise, danger, and community. And for all, the inn was a reminder that the road was long, and that every choice of where to rest could change the journey ahead. So, dear traveler, if you ever find yourself in the Middle Ages, step into a roadside inn. Beneath its roof you'll discover not just food and rest, but the steady rhythm of a world that never truly sleeps. If you enjoyed stepping inside the medieval world, don't forget to support the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss new videos. Would you eat the infamous in stew? Leave a comment and let us know what type of video you want to see.